most hated at school were those who, when they were writing in a test, did that.
Yeah.
As if one cared about what
That's
drivel they wrote.
because you're not an idiot.
Oh, no. It's just such a creepy way of behaving. So I always just do like that, grandly make sure that my number is
I published mine in The Sun once.
It
went quite badly wrong.
That was very funny.
I couldn't understand it because they were complaining that everybody's bank details had been left on a train by a civil servant or somebody, and I thought, well, it doesn't make any difference because all they can do is make a deposit. So I published my number, and there you go, there's my bank account number. What are you going to do with that? And the Diabetic Society helped themselves to 500 quid.
You don't meet many American Germans, do you? Have you ever met an American German?
No, it's too complicated. There's 3 syllables.
According to the Vegetarian Society, why are people who don't eat meat called vegetarians?
So we can identify them as fools and madmen. I don't know.
Caravans, ladies and gentlemen. They're all makes of caravan.
You can't say that word. Take it away.
But Jeremy, I've got so much to talk to you about.
No, I'm not listening.
La. You've destroyed a few in your time, though.
Yeah,
You've done a service, haven't you?
We played conkers with them not that long ago.
I saw it. Now, the world record speed for towing a caravan is?
140-something miles an hour.
Oh, he's good, isn't he?
Well, they tried to beat it in the programme.
139.113. Very good indeed.
Very good. Have they really?
Yeah, good, yeah.
Oh, I've just spent the weekend in Amsterdam where I combined the two.
Oh, well done.
Drugs and prostitution. The rule book for Dutch prostitutes is that thick. It's an inch thick of what you can and can't do.
I bet they can do something with that, though, can't they?
I went into a brothel on Saturday.
You heard it here first, folks.
It's exactly like the motorway service station lavatory.
But that was a welcome
The
break.
smell... Dutch bargees, they can swear uninterrupted, most of them, for 2 minutes without repetition or hesitation.
Can they really?
Yeah, Dutch is really good. They've got, what's that word? Schwaffling.
What does it mean?
Well, you certainly couldn't say it on Dutch television. It means to bang your penis against the Taj Mahal.
Who amongst us hasn't had that urge?
Jeremy, when I finish this show, if I get in trouble for Googling that, I'm coming after you.
Talking of John Prescott, have you seen this dog?
Oh, my God, it really is. Unbelievable.
All right, come here, love.
So, very good. It was a giant clam. And
I've seen a giant clam.
You put your foot in one?
No.
I did. It's the stupidest thing I've ever done. I was talking, I thought, I wonder what happened if you put your foot in that. Poof. And it's got a sort of velvety, soft, rather comfortable place to be stuck.
doesn't it start ingesting it and squirting enzymes at your foot? And...
I was more worried by the meter saying how much air I had left in the tanks.
Aren't you supposed to have a buddy when you dive? Isn't that what they're called?
Well, I did. I was my wife. She'd buggered off. They put in this sort of, those window-breaking hammers with a very sharp point, very substantial piece of steel, a window punch. And they put that in the centre console. And the abiding memory I had, as the thing was this spike. The safety equipment bloody nearly took my head off. If Einstein had been from Birmingham, no one would have taken the theory of relativity seriously. I mean, Nigel Mansell was from near Birmingham. That says it all, doesn't it? Huge ferret, everything drooping. Crossed the track in front of mine, never saw You've won!
You've won!
£1 billion at a yacht! No, not a very big one there.
I'm sorry to all our viewers who are from Birmingham, but what Birmingham, the other name...
I'm not.
Yeah.
I saw the other day that somebody's worked out that dolphins give one another names. You just don't. I mean, it's just calling him Peter. He isn't.
So you...
I don't know what all the symbols
Sheila,
mean.
we've missed our turn. Oh. Concentrate.
Right, I'll roast you.
Now, yes.
Okay, well, she
Sort of doing what I do there, I think.
Rather terrifying one. My father had some fish that he loved. He used to sit and watch them. They were about that long and gold. So I suppose they were goldfish, really, weren't they? They swam around in his pond and there were lilies and he used to watch them. And I thought it would be nice one birthday to buy him some more fish to go in his pond, perhaps a bit different. So I went and found these things called ghost koi.
Oh, yeah. We've got ghost koi.
You've got ghost koi. Now, in the sort of washing up bowl they sell them in, they're there, they're plainly visible. You can see them swimming around, they've got quite nice markings, like a tiger shot. You know, half a dozen of those or a dozen of those or whatever. I took them home, put them in the pond, where they completely disappear. You can't see them.
Gone.
But what ghost koi do is kill all other fish. So my father was then left with a puddle full of invisible fish, and all his fish were dead. It was the least successful birthday present ever.
Do you know the most commonly played word in Scrabble?
Penis.
No.
It is in my house.
It's rather thrilling.
Gay.
No, not gay. It's a good word.
I had a puffin last week. That's not delicious, but the point of eating it was because I'd never had one before.
I had the same with
Have
guinea
you tried
pig
one of my turds?
in South Africa. No. Did you just say what I thought you said? Get out. Out now.
No, there's a man came, I had some whale. You don't want to listen to this. But I had some whale, and he said, would you like me to grate some puffin on that? How do you say no? You can't say... No, really, actually, yes, go for it. Grate some puffin on that.
I was in Australia once, and there's a very common bird in Australia is the galah, and it's a pink kind of parrot-looking thing. And then we met this bloke who says, "You want to know how to cook a galah?" I said, "Go on then." He said, "Start a fire, chuck a couple of rocks in it, chuck a galah in. When the rocks go soft, you can eat the galah."
Do you know what I had for my starter when I had the whale?
With grated puffin.
Grated puffin was a seal flipper. And it looked exactly like a marigold glove, filled with wallpaper paste. And it sat and you thought, ooh. And it tasted exactly like licking a hot Turkish urinal.
Oh, consultant. So.
How long was it for vets?
Vets was, well, depends on the course, but 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they have the highest suicide rate, do they not, of any job? Because the only people who want to be vets are people who love animals. Yes.
And most of the time you're...
They just, what you do is I love animals, I so want to be a vet when I grow up, and you study for 6 years and then all you do is drive around the countryside killing animals. My dog's not well.
Sleep.
You just my horse, it's been in the family, you can... Eventually it's going to get to you, eventually you're just going to get fed up with boring.
38.
The Swiss have the highest motorcycle ownership in the world.
Do they?
And the highest gun ownership. 8 million guns in private hands for a population of 6 million. And I once had the pleasure of being stopped in a car in Switzerland, which I was told by the policeman was too loud. They measured it and said, it's too loud, you're not allowed to use this car anymore, and at no point mentioned the machine gun on my driver's seat. Loaded machine gun, no, that's not interesting. This exhaust, on the other hand, matey boy, you're on foot from here on in.
But,
I didn't read the questions.
Didn't you?
No, because you always put 5. That's the point of all those things, don't you? I'm always absolutely terrified of it or not bothered at all. I've never...
This explains why Alan is a mild hypochondriac, Ross is not a hypochondriac, David is a borderline hypochondriac, and you are dangerously...
Well, actually, I am. I didn't know that it was about hypochondria, because, as I say, I didn't read the questions, but I am. I've got every single disease there is. I mean, really every one.
Are you telling me you've got elephantitis?
Yes, of the scrotum. I've got a twisted testicle, a hideous skin disease, 2 slit discs, a very...
And a partridge!
I've got every conceivable disease there is.
With those testicular torsions, if that keeps going, you get to a point, if it's not treated, it's like winding up elastic band. It just... Your willy goes... You take off like an aeroplane.
Make sure you got plenty of room.
Yes. I went outside for a cigarette before the show, and I thought, for once, I'm not going to get lung cancer because I'm wearing this. No, it was the only time I think that two democracies have ever gone to war with one another.
That's a hell of an alarm.
Yes.
Does it know what we're thinking?
Yes, definitely.
How did you know that?
Welcome to my world.
11 years ago, Jeremy Clarkson, you said on this very programme that the
was
1941 Anglo-Finnish War was the only one fought between two democracies.
Yeah. Well, have we declared war since the show started?
No, there had been others before. A viewer named Otto Lowe has written to us.
Otto,
Yeah, to point out that we were wrong, so we're retroactively taking points from you today.
I did a programme about chickens once.
Yeah, go on.
And afterwards, I got so fond of them, I bought quite a lot of them.
Oh,
and,
yeah, no, we can talk at length.
Do you like chickens?
Oh, we've got lots.
How do you cope with foxes?
Well, our foxes, we shoot them. You do? Yeah. Well, we're not allowed to set the dogs on them anymore because we've got 3 dogs now. So 1 dog would be fine, 2 dogs is illegal,
Counts
3
as
is
hunting.
absolutely, no, I'd be in prison forever. Because some foxes are like Charles Bronson, Great Escape. They can get under the wire and in, and they'll savage.
Do you know what? A great idea for you. If you've got a chicken hut, you keep your chickens... What about... So your fox goes in there to look for the chickens. What about if you put a mirror at the back of the hut so the fox goes in, sees another fox, goes, whoa, your territory, I'm off.
The one I did do was I decided I was going to shoot the fox. So I thought, I went to that spy shop in Mayfair. Have you been there?
Oh, yeah, I love that place, yeah.
Brilliant shot. Anyway, I bought these Russian night vision goggles.
Always Russian or Israeli.
Well, this Russian. So I went and I thought, right, fox, you're going to die. So I got the thing, I was sitting there, and the only way to occupy myself was with a rather lovely bottle of Merlot, waiting for standing in the garden.
Is that the British Empire was made?
Absolutely.
People with big guns on the pit.
I thought, here it comes. The drawback to a night vision goggle is you can't attach it to a 12-bore, so I had to think, right, it's about
There he
near
is.
that tree. Got the gun. Exactly. Yes. And blew my wife's Scots of Stowe steamer chair to oblivion. Like Russian night vision goggles looks exactly the same as a fox. She was living at 3 o'clock in the morning in the bedroom. What the f*** are you doing? I'm sorry, darling, I got the fox. And the chair was all over the garden. I'm very shit at keeping chickens.
Now, could you demonstrate the best way to sit the dolls you have been given, which you should find somewhere, in a chair? We're really after what's best for the back. So you've got a chair and you've got a bendy...
Some say that his politics are terrifying.
Please don't pull the string.
I'm afraid these are stigs that you can buy in shops.
And he pulled the string and Clarkson speaks. I can't think of anything that would give nightmares to children more than... You're the best one in the world. You're not Woody from Toy Story.
But what we're after is what you seriously think is possibly the healthiest way to sit at a chair in an office.
Well, I can reveal this is how the stig actually sits in a chair. Do you hear about the auctioneer summoned to the big Scottish castle? This is not a joke, by the way. But he was summoned to a big Scottish castle where their lord had just died and their family was selling off all the contents. And he was looking around, trying to find this hat stand, which he couldn't. And then finally he came across it, and it was a German soldier. And what had happened was that the lord, or his ancestors, had been in the First World War with his Batman, who it was always supposed was a little more than his Batman.
Right.
Who had looked over the trench to see if it was all right and was shot by the Germans on the other side. And this enraged the Scottish chap so much, he ran across no man's land, killed the German, dragged him back to the British trenches, sent him home with instructions he'd be stuffed and used as a hat stand for the rest of time. But only 80 years had elapsed, so it was as though his ancestors would still be around in Germany, and they would come and they had to go find them and say, "Oh, did he have a dignified death?" Not really, no.
With the umbrella in his mouth.
Since 1917 in the hall of a Scottish castle, a stuffed German soldier. What are those birds called in Australia? They're huge things. I mean, they can fly. They're not. It's not.
Michelle.
Well, emus.
You sort of know they can
Rayas.
fly. They're great big kind of
Rayas.
flying... No, they're flying things. Anyway, they fly down in the night and they gorge on these animals that have been run over the roadkill in the night. Kangaroos. They get taken by the road train.
Sort of animals, yeah.
And then when the road train comes along in the morning, the next one that comes along, these things have eaten so much they can only take off into the wind. And if the lorry's coming towards them as they're taking off, they're usually at windscreen height. Really, really unpleasant because they are full of magnets.
double magnets.
And they just come through the windscreen and burst all over. Oh, Jesus, I can't. And they have to drive the next, and well, straight 100 million miles covered in maggots. It was my favourite VC winner was a First World War fighter pilot, and he was called Ferdinand West, I think. And they were attacked by 7 German planes, and in the first sort of wave he had his legs shot off, completely off. So it was jamming the controls. He took it out and threw it out of the plane, manoeuvred his plane so they could get off some good bursts into the Germans, drove them away, dropped his bombs, landed back at base, apologised for the poor quality of his landing, and then sought medical attention.
So, continuing our green theme now...
Why are you wasting electricity?
I'm sorry?
Why do you have 2 screens on?
Yeah.
Why don't you
true,
turn that
actually.
one off? And then Bill could come and sit next to me
Brilliant.
on my knee, which is what I've been hoping would happen all night long. You on for that? Go on.
What's the bottom of the slinky? As it actually happens in very high-speed camera. The bottom is completely still. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
That is a really bizarre fact. I can't really explain quite why that happens.
Oh, I bet James May could.
No, you see, the thing is...
Oh, God. I was having a poo one morning and turned round and it was bright red. And I just thought, well, that's it. That's arse cancer. And I'm history. And so I thought, well, fair enough, you know...
I've had a great life.
I've had a great life. I've had a great life, just relax.
Yeah.
And so this went on for several days, and each morning...
Bright red.
Yeah. Beetroot.
Yeah.
Beetroot
shouldn't put
stains
them
it
there.
bright red, but the relief...
Chlamydia, I think, is a very good...
You know, there's no symptoms when you have chlamydia. So if somebody says, how are you? You say, oh, very well. That means you almost certainly have it.
It's the perfect disease.
It is, but I don't... So I never know how anyone goes to the doctors with it. It would be quite interesting to
So
find
there are no
out.
warts, there's no weeping...
No green discharge.
Has to be frank about these things.
Absolutely fine. Go to the doctors, you'll have chlamydia. It's baffling, and koalas all have it.
Do they?
Yeah, all got chlamydia.
know that.
No, it may be that in relation to his body, the T-Rex's arms look rather spindly and puny. In fact, they're enormous and powerful, and they are able to lift equivalent to about 400 pounds, whereas the average human being would be about 150 pounds.
Yeah, plus I did once lose an arm wrestle to Boris Johnson.
Did you?
Yeah, lost. Can you believe that? I thought he was all blubber. He's a wholesome man.
He's Turkish. He's got
He's
Turkish blood in him.
hugely
Low centre
strong.
of gravity.
We were in a Turkish bath at the time.
So, you were in a Turkish
I
bath.
wasn't in a Turkish bath. I was just arm wrestling him over who'd vomited most in an F-15 fighter jet. How manly is that?
And it doesn't matter what you
I bet you
and what's more, it doesn't get...
It
doesn't get... Sorry?
It wouldn't work if you gave it to me.
Stephen, did you...
Well, did you will.
The one that you've got there, is that a map of Mars?
You've got one there. So, and you just take the top right and bottom left corners, or any other way.
That way?
It's so folded, it just
Take
does
the
it
corners
by
and push them
itself.
together.
Oh, my God.
That's it? Jeremy, you've done it.
But this man is the greatest genius who ever lived.
I know, it's fantastic.
Who is he?
He's called Mura. He's a... God.
Of course, what you don't realise, he was trying to make a crane.
Corio Mura, his name is, and they are very
I
handy.
would have been so fucking pleased if I
Well,
I shot one of those, but I shot a clay pigeon with it. And proved that a man can actually fly.
so you don't tell me you weren't on a punt. You
No,
were...
I wasn't on a punt. And there's a sort of momentum thing goes, and you get it going, and then you just can't stop it. and I was airborne for 20 minutes.
That's one of the reasons they had them on punts.
I mean, the boat goes backwards.
That's the point.
You could fire that in Norfolk, and you would wind up in Stavanger 300 miles.